Pop stars often find themselves at a crossroads when they outgrow the identity that made them famous. For Olivia Rodrigo, that identity was inseparable from the color purple and the specific high-voltage angst of being a teenager. Her first two albums, Sour and Guts, were defined by that aesthetic, a mix of pop-punk guitars and loud emotions of high school. But in April 2026, she chose to reset the board. She cleared her social media, effectively ending the era that turned her into a household name. When she announced her third album, the shift was immediate. With You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love, the purple was gone, replaced by saturated blue. Seated at a piano, still and isolated, this signals a move away from her rock-leaning past. Changing a color palette is a shorthand way to tell an audience that the old rules no longer apply. It suggests that the loud, distorted guitars are making way for something more reserved and introspective. For this transition to work, the new imagery needs to align with a new narrative and a different sonic environment. Rodrigo began that process by letting the blue aesthetic set the tone for what comes next. A visual reset only works if there is a real-world story to anchor it. For Rodrigo, that story began to surface just as the new aesthetic was being introduced. In early 2026, news broke that her 2-year relationship with English actor Louis Partridge had ended. Unlike the short-lived drama that fueled her debut, this was a long-term partnership ending in her early 20s. The emotional stakes had moved from the hallways of high school to the more complex realities of adulthood. We hear the result of that shift on her new track, Drop Dead. The song abandons the teenage rage that defined her early hits. Instead, the lyrics are quiet and haunted, dealing with the lingering, complicated sadness of a serious breakup. In British Vogue, she described her writing as focused on the obsession and anxiety of romance. Early anger is replaced by somber, internalized anxiety. Because her songwriting was tackling more complex emotional territory, her sound had to evolve to match that weight. The final step in this evolution was a total departure from the sound that made her famous. You can't process this kind of quiet, adult anxiety with the same pop-punk energy of a song like Good For You. The electric guitars had to be sidelined. In place of those jagged rock rhythms, the blue era relies on atmospheric synth-pop. The audio profile is smoother, prioritizing mood and texture over high-gain distortion. Changing genres is a risk, but Rodrigo sought validation from the artists who have spent decades working in these darker, more atmospheric spaces. Recently, she performed alongside Robert Smith of The Cure, a band synonymous with the moody, synth-driven sound she is now exploring. Collaborating with a figure like Robert Smith gives her new direction a level of credibility that a simple aesthetic change couldn't achieve on its own. This follows a path carved out by other artists who successfully moved away from their early pop identities to find a more permanent, mature voice. Lana Del Rey is a prime example of an artist who built a lasting career by leaning into melancholic, atmospheric pop. By adopting similar tools, Rodrigo is signaling that she intends to follow a similar trajectory. The blue era is more than just a change in color. By moving beyond her pop-punk roots and embracing a more complex narrative, Rodrigo is transitioning from a teenage sensation into an artist with a much broader emotional range.